morning children, and welcome back to your chemistry class. So today we are going to study about the bonding in the coordination compounds. Some important properties like geometry, color, magnetic properties of the coordination compounds, they all are explained by certain modern theories. What are those theories? Like the valence bond theory, the crystal field theory, the molecular orbital theory, right? So here in your syllabus only valence bond theory is to be studied. The crystal bond theory and the molecular orbital theory has been deleted from the course. Okay, so let us start with the valence bond theory. Valence bond theory, okay, which is also called as VBT, correct? So valence bond theory, it looks at the interaction between the atoms to explain the chemical bonds. It is one of the most common theories. So now let us first understand the main assumptions of this valence bond theory. Okay, so the first assumption could be the central metal ion or atom in the complex makes available what? A number of vacant orbitals for the formation of coordinate bonds. Clear? The second assumption is the number of atomic orbitals, that is s, p and d of the metal atom or ion, they hybridize to give set of equivalent orbitals of definite geometry. I'll give you all the examples, then you will understand this more clearly. Okay, so the number of atomic orbitals, that is s, p and d of the metal atom or the ion hybridize to give a set of equivalent orbitals, okay, of definite geometry. Coming to the third assumption, it states that the d orbitals involved in the hybridization, they may either be the inner d orbitals or they may be of the outer d orbitals. Okay, so the d orbitals involved in the hybridization maybe, what did I say? They may be either inner or outer d orbitals. Okay, they can be either inner orbital. So if it is inner orbitals, that means they are of what kind? They are n-1 d, or maybe outer d orbitals, that is could be nd. Okay. Then fourth point, each ligand has at least one orbital containing lone pair of electrons. Then only the bonding can take place. Okay. So each ligand has at least one orbital containing a lone pair of electrons, right? The fifth assumption says that the empty hybrid orbitals of the metal atom or ion, they always overlap with the filled orbitals of the ligand and they form the coordinate bond. Okay. So the, what did I say? The empty hybrid orbitals of what? Of the metal atom or an ion, metal atom or ion, right? They overlap. Overlap with what? With the filled orbitals of the orbitals of the ligands. Okay, and they form coordinate bonds. And the last assumption could be like during the complex formation, right? The Hund's rule is always strictly followed, right? But under the influence of some strong ligands, just now I'll explain you the different types of ligands that are found in the valence bond theory that were used. So under the influence of strong ligands, the electrons may be forced to pair up against the Hund's rule. Okay, so this is the sixth point that I would like to mention. During the formation of the complex, right, Hund's rule is strictly followed. When is it not followed? When is it not followed? Only when strong ligands are present, then the electrons may be forced to pair up against the Hund's rule, right? So these were some of the main assumptions of the valence bond theory. Now further we are going to move ahead. Now as I said, talking about the ligands, right? Ligands are of three types. Followed? The first one could be strong ligands, then there are average ligands, and there are weak ligands, right? So some strong ligands, what do we mean by strong ligands? That means they are good electron donors. Okay, so it will always pair the unpaired electrons in the central metal atom, right? An example could be like your CO or Cn minus. These are the two strong ligands. Now talking about the average ligands, what do we understand by average ligands? These are the average donors. Okay, these are the average donors, right? Like sometimes they act as a strong ligand, sometimes they act as a weak ligand, like so some of the examples of average ligands are like NO2 minus, or it could be even En, or maybe H2O, NH3, or even your SCN minus or OH minus. These are all your average ligands. Okay. Now next, the weak ligands. As the word suggests, they are poor electron donors, right? They never pair the unpaired electrons. Always remember, They always pair up the unpaired electrons. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't do, and they never pair up the unpaired electrons. So example of your weak ligands could be like all these are your weak ligands. Okay, then it could be S minus. So this was all about ligands that I wanted to tell you. Now, what are the properties that we are going to study in the valence bond theory? We are going to, through this valence bond theory, going to talk about hybridization. I will write it down over here. We'll talk about hybridization. And we shall also talk about the magnetic moment. Magnetic moment. Then we shall also talk about spin multiplicity. Okay, so these are all the things that we are going to talk about over here. So let us begin. Understand firstly when I've written this one, so let me make you understand what is spin multiplicity. Like if there is one unpaired electron, right, then S, spin multiplicity means we are talking about S. So S will be how much? Half. Okay, if there are two unpaired electrons, then the spin multiplicity will be what? Half plus half, that is 1. If there are three unpaired electrons, then S will be how much? Half plus half plus half. This is going to give you 3 by 2 and so on. I hope this is clear. Now let's talk about hybridization. So if hybridization is say DsP2, then what geometrical structure are we going to get? Then the geometrical structure that we are going to get will be a square planar. Okay, so if the hybridization is DsP2, then the geometrical structure will be what? Square planar. And what if it is sp3? Then it will be tetrahedral. Okay, but if it is either D2sp3 or if it is sp3d2, then in that case the geometrical structure will be octahedral. Is this point very clear? Thus we can say that the octahedral structures could be of two types. What are they? With the hybridization D2sp3 or sp3d2, right? Now if it is D2sp3, then this will show inner orbital complex. This I had explained you just now. What is inner orbital complex? Was N minus 1 D. Okay, and if it is sp3d2, then what kind of a complex it is going to form? It will form outer orbital complex, okay, of the kind ND. I hope this is very clear. Next we move to the color. Let's talk about color. We also come to know about the color of the complex through the valence bond theory. So if the complex is colored, okay, then it means that it shows, or in other words we can say, if the electrons are unpaired, then the complex is colored, and if the electrons are paired, then it is a colorless complex. Okay, if it is colorless, then that means it contains paired electrons, vice versa. I hope this is very clear to you. What did I say? that if the electrons are unpaired, then it is a colored complex, and if the electrons are paired, then it is a colorless complex. Or in other words, if it is colored, then it is unpaired. If it is colored, then it is paired electron. Okay. Now next we come to magnetic moment. Let us understand what do we mean by magnetic moment. So there are two types of magnetic moments that you are going to come across. They are like paramagnetic, okay, and other one is your diamagnetic. Magnetic. Now let us understand when do we see paramagnetic property and when do we see diamagnetic property. Firstly, paramagnetic property means what? Attractive property. Let me write it down over here so that you remember. It is an attractive property. Okay. And diamagnetic is your repulsive property. This is your repulsive property. So when do we come across the complex which is paramagnetic? When there are unpaired electrons. This is when there are unpaired electrons. Okay. And when do we come across diamagnetic complex? When we get paired electrons. So if it is a paired electron, the magnetic moment will be diamagnetic and it will be colorless as well. Fine. If it has unpaired electrons, then it is paramagnetic. Magnetic moment is paramagnetic and it is a colored complex. So I hope all this is very clear to you. Now, coming to how do we find out the magnetic moment? So, the formula for the magnetic moment is mu is equal to under root n plus 2, where you find n is your number of unpaired electrons. Okay, unpaired electrons. Fine. Have you understood the whole assumption of valence bond theory? If this is clear, then we move ahead with certain examples to understand what I have taught you just now. So let us come to some examples. Okay. So coming to example number 1. Let's take this complex E4 FeCN6. Okay, so here what is the central metal atom? Iron is the central metal atom, right? So for this we first need to find out the oxidation state of this iron, right? So how do we find out that? So 4 plus X plus 1 minus 1 into 6 minus 6, all this is equal to 0. So your X comes out to be how much? Plus 2, right? Therefore, your iron is of plus 2 situation. Is this very clear? Now coming to the electronic configuration. Electronic configuration. Okay. So let us find out for iron first, whose atomic number is 26. So how can we write down the configuration? We can take this till argon, okay, then 3d6 4s2, but we move to the next one also, 4p, which is 0. Now when it is in its ionic form, then what is the configuration? Argon, it becomes 3d6 4s0 4p0. Okay, now how this happens, let us understand it through the figure over here. So let me draw and explain you. This is 3d 4s 4p, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 5 orbitals, here there are 3 orbitals. Okay, so let us fix up 3d6 according to Hund's rule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, is this point clear? Now, what is the ligand? Cn minus cyanide. So this is your strong ligand, right? Strong ligand means what? They are going to get paired up. So before it gets paired up, now try to understand. This will go here, okay, and this is going to come over here. So during pairing, what are we going to see? This is 3D, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is already paired. What happens? This one already has one spin. This will come over here, okay, this comes here. This is 4s, this is 4p. So can you see over here? Now what will happen? The ligand, which is Cn, which is a strong ligand, is going to get paired up over here. I'll show it to you. Now let's see the 6 ligands. They are going to pair up over here. How? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now let us look at the hybridization of it. Okay, hybridization. What do you see the hybridization? D2 sp3. This is the hybridization. So what should be the structure of it? Go back and understand D2 sp3. What structure? It should be octahedral structure. Clear? Whether paired or unpaired? Unpaired it is? No, it is not unpaired. They are all paired, right? So they are paired. Clear? They are diamagnetic. Okay. Then let's talk about the spin multiplicity. The formula is 2s plus 1. So 2 into 0 plus 1, which is equal to 1. Therefore, what kind of a complex it is? It is a colorless complex. Followed. Next point that we need to study is about the magnetic moment. What is the formula for magnetic moment? I had told you mu is equal to under root n plus 2, right? So this is equal to n means number of unpaired electrons. So 0, 0 plus 2. So this is equal to 0 Bm. What is Bm? It is Bohr's management. Bm means Bohr management. Right? So over here, when I said D2sp3, what kind of orbital did you see here? Inner 3D orbital. Okay, they are used here, right? When is the inner orbital complex formed? When the D shell is used by the ligand to fill the shell. Over here, the D shell has been used by the ligand to fill the shell. Therefore, it is called as the inner. I haven't written over here. Okay, this when I have written, you should understand it is inner orbital complex. So I hope this first example is very clear. What have we to do? First, we have to find out the central metal atom, find out its oxidation state, then write down the configuration, and then do the pairing of the electrons. And once when you do this, then you find out all the properties. That is, we talk about hybridization, where we talk about whether the electrons are paired or unpaired, whether they are diamagnetic or paramagnetic, whether they we talk about the spin multiplicity, we talk about the color, we talk about the magnetic moment, and so on. Is that clear? Now let us come to the second example. Example 2. So let's take, say, K3 FeCN6. If we take this compound or this complex, then let us find out, this is your central metal atom. Let us find out the oxidation state of this metal atom, central metal atom. So it becomes what? 3 plus x minus 6. Straight away I am writing, which is equal to 0. Therefore x will be equal to how much? 3. Therefore this iron is of what state? 3 plus, right? So now let us take the electronic configuration. Electronic configuration, right, of Fe, that is 26. So how do we write down? Argon, okay, then 3d6, 4s2, 4p0. With Fe3 plus, what does it become? Er, this becomes 3d5, 4s0, 4p0. Okay, now let us draw. So this is your 3d, this is your 4s, this is your 4p. So 1 2 3 4 5 1 2. So let us see over here, 3d5. So 1 2 3 4 5. Clear? Now over here, what is the ligand? Cn minus. It is a strong ligand, so it is going to attack the d orbital, okay, and show the coordinate bonding. So let's see how. 1 2 3 4 5. This is 4s and this is for p. So this is 3d, this is 4s and this is for p. What will happen over here? This electron is going to pair up over here. This one is going to pair up over here. Okay, now this will be left unpaired. So let's look over here. This becomes paired with this. See this pin? This remains unpaired. These two are paired. This remains unpaired. So now the Cn cyanide ligand is going to attack the d orbital. So how will it attack the d orbital? How many ligands? 6 ligands are there. So 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Clear? So now let us talk about the hybridization. First point, hybridization will be how much? Come on, tell me. 3d2 d2, okay, sp3. This is the hybridization. Therefore, what is the shape or the structure we should talk about? It is octahedral structure. Okay, now let's talk about the magnetic moment. The magnetic moment formula is what? Mu is equal to under root n plus 2. Now over here, what do we know? How many unpaired electron? 1 over here. So 1 plus 2. Okay, this is equal to under root 3. So what did we see over here? That mu is not equal to 0 over here. Is that clear? Then we talk about the spin multiplicity. What is the formula? 2s plus 1. So 2 into how many? 1 is left. So half plus 1. 2 gets cancelled. So this becomes what? 2. Why did I do half? Because there was only one unpaired electron. Clear? Now, because there is one unpaired electron, therefore paramagnetic in nature, right? What about the color? It is colored complex, colored complex, fine. And tell me whether it shows inner orbital complex or it is an outer orbital complex. It is inner because it attacks the d orbitals, right? So therefore it is your inner orbital complex. So I hope you have understood the second example also. Let's move to the third example. Example 3. Let me take this compounds NiCO4. Okay, so this is your central metal atom. Let us find out the oxidation state of this nickel. This will become what? 0, because 0 into 4, x plus 0 into 4, that is 0. Now configuration, electronic configuration. So for nickel it is how much? 28. So configurate, first we reach till argon, then 3d 8, 4s2 and 4p 0. Okay, so now let's draw and see. 3d 1 2 3 4 5. This is 3d, then this is 4s, then this is 4p. Okay, now let us pair up the electrons. How many? 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. Is this point clear? So this is 3d8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 4s2, 4s2. Okay, now your ligand is what? CO, and this is your strong ligand. This is your strong ligand, right? Therefore, what are we going to observe? 1 2 3 4. This is 4s, this is 3d. So let's see this. This is already paired, this one is already paired, this one is already paired, this will come over here, this gets paired, this is going to jump over here, so this is already paired. Okay, now where does the ligand attack? Ligand is going to attack the 4s orbital, and therefore how many ligands are there? 4 are there. So 1 2 3 and 4. Clear? So let us now observe the hybridization of it. The hybridization you must have already understood. sp3, this is the hybridization because it did not attack the d orbital. Clear? Therefore, now if it is sp3, then what is the structure of it? It is tetrahedral structure, right? Now, what are the number of unpaired electrons? No unpaired electrons are found over here. Okay, therefore what should be the nature of it? It is diamagnetic in nature. Is this point clear? Whether it is colorless or colored, it will be colorless complex. Why it is a colorless complex? Because there are no unpaired electron present over here. Whether it is an inner orbital complex or an outer orbital complex, it is not inner orbital complex. Why? Because it did not attack the d orbital. So it is the outer orbital complex. Outer orbital complex. I hope this is clear. Now let's talk about the magnetic moment. Any unpaired electron? No. So mu is equal to what? 0. Obviously. How? Use the formula and try to understand. It is, how did we get this? Mu is equal to uh, n plus 2. So this is 0, 0 plus 2. So this will give you 0. This is what I have written over here. Okay. Now talking about spin multiplicity. Spin multiplicity. So over here, what is the formula? 2s plus 1. So 2 into 0 plus 1. 0 plus 1, which is 1. Is this clear? So I hope this third example also must be very clear to you. I'll pick up one more example. Last example, that is the fourth example. Let me take K2 NiCl4. So over here, nickel is your central metal atom. Let's find out its oxidation state. So it will become what? 2 plus x minus 1 into 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. So x is equal to what? 2. So nickel 2 plus is the ion that we are talking about over here. So let's configure nickel with atomic number 28. This is equal to argon, then 3d8, 4s2, 4p0. Okay. When we talk about nickel ion, then it becomes argon. Then this becomes 3d8, 4s0, 4p0. Now let us see it through the drawing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 3d, this is 4s, and this is 4p. So what are we going to observe over here? 8 electrons. So follow Hund's rule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Clear? Now what? We have to talk about the ligand. Ligand is which one? Chlorine. Chlorine, it is a weak ligand. So let me write over here. Now ligand chlorine is a weak ligand, right? So it is not going to show any pairing, therefore no pairing will be shown over here. Fine. Thus 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4s, this is 4p, this is 3d, 4s, 4p. So this is 1, this remains as it is. Okay, no pairing takes place over here, whereas this ligand, it is, how many? 4 ligands are there, so it is going to pair up over here. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so now let us discuss about the different points. That is, first one is your hybridization. What is the hybridization? Hybridization is S then P3. If it is sp3, then what is the structure? Structure should be tetrahedral. Okay, then let's talk about its magnetic moment. What is the formula of magnetic moment? Mu is equal to under root n plus 2. Now where n is your unpaired electron, how many unpaired electron? 2. So under root 2, 2 plus 2, this is equal to how much? Under root 8. I hope this is very clear. Why did we get under root 8? Because there are two unpaired electrons. Now let's talk about next point, that is spin multiplicity. So what is the formula? 2s plus 1. Now 2 into 1. Why did I take 2 into 1? Because there are two unpaired electrons. Two unpaired electrons. Clear? So half plus half gives it 1 plus 1. So this makes it 2 plus 1, which is 3. Followed? Now what nature? It is para magnetic because it has unpaired electrons, and if it has unpaired electrons, then therefore it is a colored complex. Clear? Are these points clear to all of you? So with all these four examples, I hope you have understood how to find out the different properties of the particular compound. Next we move to what are the limitations of the valence bond theory. So let us talk about the limitations of the valence bond theory. So the first point is it gives only the qualitative explanation for the complexes. Okay, gives only qualitative explanations of the complexes. This is the first limitation to it. Secondly, it does not make the exact prediction regarding the tetrahedral or the square planar structures for the four coordinate complexes, right? It does not give exact predictions regarding the tetrahedral or the square planar structures, okay, of coordination number 4. Then it does not even distinguish between a weak ligand and a strong ligand. Does not distinguish between a weak and a strong ligand. Okay. Then another point of limitation could be it does not explain the detailed features of the magnetic properties of the complexes, right? Does not explain detailed magnetic properties of the complexes. And last but not the least, maybe it also fails to explain the absorption spectra given by the complexes. Fails to explain the absorption spectra of the given complexes. So these were some of the limitations of the valence bond theory. Other theories are out of your syllabus. So with this we wind up with the chapter. Thank you.